we've seen runners, now that we've been doing this for 20 years here, people who started in our Rising New York Road Runners programs who are now out running our races. And we've even had a few that have come and run the marathon. And not that that's the end goal for this, but we've gotten them into the sport of running. And some of them are just now lifelong runners.
This is Running for Real, the podcast for runners who know that for every runner's high, there are just as many lows. All those just missed PRs, easy runs that feel hard, injury blues, and more. Each week, we'll talk to running, health, and wellness experts about their highs, lows, and best advice to build our confidence. Running for Real is about being honest, being brave, and most of all, not feeling alone. And now here's our host, Tina Muir.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 166 of the Running for Real podcast. Welcome to 2020. Happy New Year to all of you listening and celebrating. I hope you didn't party too hard on New Year's Eve. I am recording this a bit ahead of time, but I can probably, honestly, I would be surprised if I made it up to midnight. I have had a habit lately of falling asleep I can just about make it to 9 p.m., which is pretty sad, but, I can use the excuse of I'm growing a human child, so I feel like that gives me an excuse. All right, but I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you are going into 2020 with maybe some goals. I'm kind of less into goals as I move forward with my life. I feel like sometimes they bring more pressure than they do help, but I realize that maybe that's just the period of my life that I'm in. I can't really set goals at this point because I have no control over a lot of the things that I'd be setting goals over. So maybe that is right for me. But if you have a big goal in mind, I hope you have kind of a plan of action to get there. And my mental training course is still available if you want to go to tinamuir.com/mental training. If you want to get your mental side of things sorted out, if that is a goal for you to really have a big breakthrough this year within your running, you can't do it without your mental side. So go check that out if you want. But yes, moving into 2020, I hope you are prepared to give yourself love, to give yourself compassion, and just be treating yourself the way that you treat others. Because as much as we can set goals and we can say that we want these things for ourselves, we're never going to do them. We're never going to achieve them unless we actually give ourselves the kind of love and support and kindness that we give other people. Because if we're just trying to sabotage ourselves, then we're never going to reach them, because those negative, nasty voices always come through in those toughest moments, which are what lead to the greatest accomplishments. But without kind of pushing through those with, just some kind self-talk, some kind words to yourself of support, you're not going to get there. So I hope you are going into this year just kind of prepared to reflect on yourself and just be nice, because you deserve it. I know you do. All right. So last week we had Cara Goucher on the show. It was a very honest, real kind of Cara-ish episode. We went over a lot of different topics, and once again, she was real with us. She shared some things that, a few years ago, she never would have said. Definitely talked from the heart, and it was a great conversation. And I really love that she is speaking her truth, and it's helping so many people out there. And especially if you are going through a tough time right now, I would absolutely recommend going back to that episode, because she really is going to speak to you, and it was an enjoyable episode. All right, so today we have Michael Capiraso on the show, and I wanted to bring him on, not because they pitched him to me or because, there was anything that they did to kind of encourage him, but it was more that, that I had a few events with New York Road Runners in New York last year, and I just saw how special this guy was. I remember the day I ran the New Balance Fifth Avenue Mile with Achilles International, which is a international company or nonprofit that works with children and adults with disabilities, kind of gives them a guide to run with, gives them people to train with, and just a kind of support system for them within the sport. So I absolutely love what Achilles is doing, and I decided I wanted to run with Achilles kids. So I ran with this little girl named Christine through the mile. She ran a PR, which was really special to be a part of that. But I got to the finish line, or got close to it, and I saw Michael standing there, and he was just high-fiving everyone. And he just looked so happy. And every time I've seen him, he's just all over the place. He's doing events like this every weekend. He's there for so many finishes, not just at the front, but particularly towards the back. And all the time, you can just tell he has this passion and this love. And I thought, wow, what makes him tick? I've seen his team. of people. As the president and CEO, he is kind of in charge of the New York Road Runners. And I'd seen him around and how positive and how happy and just buzzed his team seemed. And I thought, what makes him so good at that? What makes him such a good leader? So I thought, you know what, I'm going to bring him on. We're going to see if we can pick him apart and figure out what his magic is. And maybe we can learn how to lead teams like he does. So they had no idea I was reaching out to him about this. And I just really wanted to make this a special episode because he just really is a wonderful guy. And I just want to remind you, this isn't just about New York. Yes, New York Roadrunners that's the priority. That's where they are based. But there's also things going on that you can join in anywhere. And I'm excited to tell you about their coaching lab later in the show. So be sure to listen to that because I think that's going to be a great opportunity for many of you. All right. So before we go meet Michael, I've already told you about the coaching lab from New York Roadrunners. I'll tell you about that a bit later. I also want to thank Athletic Greens and Vital Farms for sponsoring this episode. All right, let's go meet him. Thank you to Athletic Greens for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast and for supporting me this last about 6 months or so. I have noticed a huge change in how I feel since taking this product. Every day, it is the first thing I do when I wake up, and Bailey actually likes to drink it. So those of you who are skeptical about the taste of a green juice, I can tell you it does not taste like spinach. It does not taste like grass. It tastes good. Bailey likes drinking it with me too. I obviously don't give her too much. I don't want to overdo it with her, but she loves to have a few sips in the morning because it really does taste good. Now, you've been telling me for a long time that you want to, be healthier. You want to go into these races strong. I see so many of you reading my guide of what to do if you're sick the week of your race. And I don't want you to have that problem this year. I want you to build up your immune system. I want you to feel good going into your race. So I want you to take some action to build this positive, sustainable life that you want to be living. It matters to me that you are happy and feeling good and feeling strong. And Athletic Greens can really help you to get there. I have been taking it instead of taking a prenatal during my pregnancy because it contains everything that a prenatal has. And I love that it's made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. So I know that it's coming straight from the sources rather than it just coming from a tablet. And who knows where those are coming from. It is this all-in-one supplement. It has these ingredients that work together to help the body absorb and synthesize the ingredients. It's developed for athletes and performers, but it works so well for those everyday runners, for me, for you, all of us. One scoop is going to give you all the adaptogens, the antioxidants, the prebiotics, the probiotics, and the superfoods that help support the body's nutritional needs. It really is just a wonderful thing, and I've noticed so much of a difference since I've been taking every day. I said it just starts the day off right, and I know that I can, even if I'm not kind of craving anything that is healthy, which I haven't been craving much, to be honest, during my pregnancy. So at least I know that my nutrition is being taken care of. The amount I've fallen sick has really gone down since I've been taking this product, and I really feel like it is just a great way to support your diet because it's so hard to get everything we need in. We're told what we need, but it's pretty tough to manage to get it all in there. So I want you to take advantage of this special offer for Running for Real listeners, which is you can get a $79 value travel pack, which is 20 servings of Athletic Greens with your first month's order. That's a really good deal. You can take those travel packs with you on vacation. You can take them race week to make sure that you are going into your race healthy. You can find that at athleticgreens.com/Tina. That's athleticgreens.com/Tina. And you will get a $79 value free travel pack with your first order. Michael, thank you so much for joining me today on the Running for Real podcast. I have been excited about interviewing you for a while, and I'm just honored to have you here right now. So thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. Great to be speaking with you.
Yeah, thank you. It is an honor to have you on the show. Now, you yourself are coming off your 28th New York City Marathon. From what I hear from some of your staff, it is a crazy few weeks during that kind of build up, or maybe even months to get it ready. You just have a lot going on, all really exciting and wonderful stuff, but just very, very intense. So how are you feeling physically, mentally? Do you feel like you have kind of come down off the high of the TCS New York City Marathon, or are you still kind of getting back into the swing of things?
Well, feeling great. I thought the 2019 TCS New York City Marathon was one of the best, if not the best we've ever had. It was a really terrific lead up to it, and it was a perfect day. I mean, so much about, running has to do with weather and conditions, and we had a great day here in New York City for that. We set a record with over 53,000 people running the race this year, and so it was really a terrific day. I feel really honored and privileged to be able to get the opportunity to run the race as well as being part of this organization, which I did for my 28th consecutive year this year, and was running the perfect race and was on course for a PR, and then had a little hamstring issue around mile 20. Managed to finish okay, but looking forward to 2020. I can tell you that as a runner, and certainly as a part of New York Roadrunners as well. But it was a great year, really great year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was honored to be there as well. And you probably haven't seen that I've said this, but I mean, London Marathon for me is always going to hold a special place in my heart. I think that's kind of obvious, especially as I'm from near there. But I thought that was just the best experience of a marathon I'd ever seen. London was special for me, running in these places that I knew and loved, but I just, there's something magical about New York City Marathon, and more than any other marathon I've been to. And it was, I could say, just from watching from a spectator point of view, it is something special. And, especially looking forward to going into 2020, where it's going to be your 50th year. Well, I'm sure you'll explain that it's not technically the 50th, but is the 50th. So we'll talk about that in a second, but it definitely is for those listeners. New York definitely has a magic about it. And you went straight in there with talking about your 28th race and having these struggles. And I was going to ask you about that later, but we can start with that, I suppose. So you said it was your 28th time, but this time you decided after a few days, I think it was, that you were going to share this kind of struggle of what happened. And you said about the hamstring issue, but why was there a hesitation to share that? Like, was there a part of you that felt you needed to kind of hold this, not superhuman, I can do anything kind of mentality, but maybe that you needed to keep it so that it wasn't about you, or what was the hesitation to share it? The fact that you did have a really kind of rough day.
Well, I think you hit it. I mean, the reality is it's a spectacular day. It's a really, important day for a lot of people, and not making it about me was kind of probably the hesitation. That said, I think certainly what we all learn as runners is that our journey is important for other people because we all learn from others. And so I think at the end of the day, the little nudge to share it was probably a good one. And I say runners, we really like to do two things most. We like to run and we like to talk about running. So with that in mind, I kind of went with let me talk about it. And it's great to talk about the good things and the amazing day it was, and the 1 million+ people lining the streets, and the fact that people raised money for charities. But I worked hard at it like all runners do, and struggled a little bit because it's something that had never happened to me before. And so I thought sharing that would be a good thing for other people to know. And look, it happens to folks, right? It's part of the deal. I think I've been really lucky for this many years to not have anything like that happen to me, and not have to deal with kind of a immediate rehab afterwards. But not to take away from, again, it was a great day, and a great day for a lot of people running and spectating. And, you said earlier, there are all the marathons are really interesting in their own way. And I was fortunate in the last year to actually see all 6, obviously, including New York. Didn't run them, but visited them. And the uniqueness for each one is really special. Yeah. And I think it certainly does make you just appreciate the real interesting aspects to each one. And it even continues to give me a greater appreciation for how incredibly unique and special and big it is here in New York City. So having visited them all last year and running this one again this year, again, another way to just, be inspired by runners and everything about it.
Yeah. And you've just given people who are probably on the fence sitting, deciding whether they should eventually try to go for each of the majors. I think you've probably pushed quite a few people over the edge right there to want to make sure they can get all 6 in. It's 6, right? Or is it 5?
It is 6.
6. Okay, yeah. So yeah, thank you for that. And just going back to the kind of sharing the struggles there, was that the first time you've kind of shown vulnerability beyond kind of into your own life, letting people see, some struggles that you had, and what was the reception you got from that? Did that surprise you, or was it what you expected?
I didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. Yes, I was surprised at the feedback I got from it. But as I said earlier, I think it's very much in that runners want to hear about other people's journeys, and they want to hear about their successes, and they want to hear about their challenges too, because I think we identify very much with them. And I've worked harder this year than I've ever worked preparing for the TCS New York City Marathon. I ran the last 10 miles of the course 26 times. And the irony was that it was that part of it where I ended up getting the injury. But I think that the sharing and the telling of what we go through in our journey really does help others. And, if we have a platform to do that, that's great. And we should do that. And I think it also, to some degree, helps us kind of sometimes deal with things. And the work that I'm doing since that has been really terrific and really great to help me kind of get stronger and come back next year. And, I'll learn some things about that. I'm sure you've been through time periods where you have injuries or challenges, and people want to hear about that as much as they do the celebration, I think.
Definitely. And I think, especially for someone like you doing this 28 times, everyone has had like an experience that has been less than ideal, be it they didn't make it to the start line, be it they didn't finish, be it something came up like for you. And it's easy to look at you saying you've done it 28 times and think, wow, like how could he do that for, 28 years, get it right. But I think it's good for people to see that even someone like you who is doing it again and again is still going to struggle. And last year, if I read this right, you actually ran a PR age 56. Is that right?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So you had this amazing high. So that kind of, people even more would have been like, what? How did he do that? So, tell us about what your thoughts are for runners listening who are maybe going through a bit of a slump or had a bad race recently, or, maybe are getting a little bit older into their master's years and thinking, well, most of the good stuff's gone now. What would you like to say?
Oh gosh, I feel the opposite. I almost feel like embracing the changes is great. I feel like as we continue to move along in our running careers, to do things differently. What I've learned the last few years is change my workouts, change my maybe my non-running workouts, and do more of those. Read up and listen to other people and talk to other people what they've done, because I see a lot of people that not only improve, but they also find a different way to kind of enjoy it. And it may not be your fastest time, but there may be another aspect or another challenge about it. Running with different folks. Each year I set out and I pick 3 things that I want to do differently year over year in training. And this past year it was run the last 10 miles 26 times. It was work on my core more. And it was, the 80-20 rule, which I've read a book about and thought that was really important. I had to do more of my miles slower. So what I would say in general to people is just embrace the change, embrace what's going to happen, and learn more about it, because you'll be surprised. You may find either some extra joy in it, or you may find some time in a race that you didn't expect to get before. And I have found that in the last few years in ways that I hadn't found in the prior 25, 26 years. And yes, my results have been better, but that aside, I've enjoyed it in a different way. So I've really strongly encouraged, and I say that to everyone, the stuff that we didn't want to do for many years, either the speed work or the core work, go ahead and do it. And it doesn't mean you have to be obsessive about it, but give it a try, get yourself in a routine. I've done a lot more group training too. We have some really great groups, as a lot of places do, to run with. And, the idea of running with different folks and running in a group gives you, show up, do something different. And I really think that there are aspects of that people will find will elevate either their joy of it or their performance.
And how much of that have you learned through what you do with New York Road Runners? You know, having essentially the run center kind of be this, well, it is a run hub for runners to go. And I'm assuming that is a wonderful place for, on a day-to-day basis, people to just meet and collect up a group and go for a run. Like how does that tie in?
Yeah, certainly working in New York Road Runners has a lot to do with it. But the other thing is the running community is really strong. And what I say too is there's so much now because of the digital platforms and the technology now that connects us and engages us with other people and other platforms that we can be engaged with for running, and helps us kind of learn other things. So it makes us aware of things. Because of all of the information that's out there now and easily accessible, you can meet other people to run with. You can do virtual training. You can do virtual racing. When you're traveling, you can find running routes. Last year, I did a fair amount of traveling, and I would pull up my Strava and find a running route somewhere to go and visit places. And so I think there's so many other tools and things that we have now that can really add to that engagement and that new exploration. And I always encourage people to do that. So yes, fortunate to be here in New York City working with New York Road Runners and have the Run Center, but there are so many ways in which I feel like people all over the world can really be engaged with new ways to kind of be part of the running community.
Definitely. So you mentioned some virtual stuff there, which I'd love to have you talk about a little bit more. For someone listening who is thinking, this conversation, it's all about New York, and I don't live in New York. I have no likelihood of being able to visit New York. This isn't for me. What would you like to tell that person?
I think now is the best time, or better than it's ever been, to be a runner, no matter where you are. The digital platforms, the running community through social media it has exploded and continues to every day. So what we see now, we've launched a number of virtual platforms. We've had virtual training for years. We launched virtual racing in 2018. We have some new virtual coaching things and other things that are going to come out in the coming years. But the way in which you can engage with running now through technology is just fantastic. So if you look, we had people run the TCS New York City Marathon virtually this year in countries all around the world. And the social media and the engagement around this was fantastic.
Thank you to Vital Farms for sponsoring this episode of the Running for Real podcast. Friends, I could not be more excited to be working with Vital Farms. I've been a big fan of their products for many years. I have been having their eggs for many years and enjoying the fact that I can go into a grocery store in most places around the US and find Vital Farms in there, but know that they really do care about their products. They care about what it goes into them, and they care about the animals that they are coming from. So I'm excited to tell you today about the Vital Farms ghee that is now come out. So just for those of you who don't know, ghee is a class of clarified butter. It originated in ancient India, and Vital Farms has been making pasture-raised butter for many years. And then they believe that great ghee starts with better butter, which makes sense, right? And that all starts with the cow. As I mentioned, they do look after their animals. They have pasture-raised cows that are raised to graze on actual pastures, the ones that cows should be grazing on. Vital Farms ghee is a clean and versatile butter oil for every culinary need. It is made by cooking down butter to remove the water and milk solids, which means it's lactose-free and casein-free, which is good for those of you who need to keep that in mind. Now, I have been using ghee for many years in my cooking, and it's a really great alternative to using butter, and it's just a really flavorful product to use. And I love that Vital Farms are now coming out with this. It also has a great high smoke point, so it doesn't burn, it doesn't chemically alter at high heat. So it's great for frying, great for sauteing. It can be delicious even on toast, in coffee. If you are into the butter in coffee, definitely have not given that a try myself. I'm still a bit scared of it, but those of you who love it will already love and know that. Or you can also have it drizzled on popcorn. That is a big pregnancy craving of mine for sure. Now, you shouldn't have to sacrifice quality for convenience, and that's why Vital Farms is the first ever ghee made in a squeeze bottle. So there's the complex goodness of ghee, nice and easy for you to use. Now, you can look out for Vital Farms ghee in Whole Foods Market in the original and Himalayan pink salt flavors. And you can also visit vitalfarms.com/GHEE. That's vitalfarms.com/GHEE for a chance to win, wait for this, a year's supply of Vital Farms ghee for free. Go to vitalfarms.com/GHEE to get yourself some. Vital Farms is a brand I trust, and I hope you love them too.
But the way in which you can engage with running now through technology is just fantastic. So if you look, we had people run the TCS New York City Marathon virtually this year in countries all around the world. And the social media and the engagement around this was fantastic.
Can you just explain what that is for when someone thinks a virtual race, what is that?
Sure. So in the same way where you might go out and do a run at any time, what we do, we've created a community of people that are running a virtual race. You can make your course anytime during a window of a time period, a week or 2 weeks, and tracking it through Strava or other apps that will track your run. And as part of the New York Roadrunners virtual racing platform, you can be a part of a whole community that's running. So it really gives people the opportunity to take what might be just your normal run and connect to other people and be part of this. You're part of a whole results. We track your results so you can see, if you care, to see how you performed against others, or you're just part of a great group of people that have run the same race in quotes, if you will, anywhere in the world. And I think it's really, again, one of those things that just makes the running community so special that people can be engaged anywhere through all these platforms now.
Yeah, that absolutely agree. And you wouldn't know this, but I actually do have a running community online as well. And it's just wonderful to see the friendships that have been made, the connections that people have. I was told recently that, you probably didn't see this, but I recently announced that I'm pregnant with my second child. And I guess a group of my community had a side conversation going about whether I was pregnant, because they just come such good friends that they just talk almost daily, which, is really special. People, like you said, all over the world. And yes, some of them may get to meet from time to time. I actually had someone I met the day before the TCS New York City Marathon who had come in from Australia. So that was really cool. And so it's just amazing these connections we can build online and the things that you can do online. Like you said about the virtual racing, that makes you feel a part of something, even if you do live in some rural town that, the likelihood of you even getting to a big city is unlikely. So thank you for explaining that. And I've mentioned this many times before. Every time I come back from New York, I say this, but the New York Roadrunners, you just have this fantastic team. You have this hardworking group. Just the culture is amazing to see. I know you have Stu sitting there with you right now, who's included in this. But what did you do to create that culture? You coming in 2015, we all know you were a part of this. So why was culture for you very important to kind of create a group that just were working towards a common goal?
Well, first off, congratulations on baby number 2 on the way. Very
Thank you.
Exciting.
Sorry.
And it
threw a lot in there.
It is so interesting how the community kind of, catches on to that. And again, we'll support that whole journey for you. Really.
Yeah, I know you will.
It's amazing. So, I always feel like, culture is created by the people that are around you. And we're so incredibly fortunate here at New York Roadrunners. This organization has been around for 60 years in this city, putting on events, being out in the community, supporting the community of runners, and not only here in New York City, but globally, obviously, through the marathon and a few of our other big events, and now through the digital platforms. But the culture of the running community is so fascinating, having been a part of it now for almost 30 years, both outside of New York Roadrunners and inside of New York Roadrunners. It is really the people. I say this, and my wife says this all the time, the runners are generally nice people, right? So you take a pretty nice group of people and you get them to do something they really enjoy doing and are really passionate about and care about, and you've got a pretty good culture to start with. And then I think the best thing you can do is just keep feeding that with more opportunities for people to engage, more opportunities for people to come together, for them to share experiences, to give them, world-class events in which they can participate in. Welcoming people of all ages and ability is really, I think, important. And I think over the years, running has done that in such a way. And we at New York Roadrunners make that a big part of our mission to help and inspire people through running. We want you to come and run with us regardless of your speed, your pace, your ability. We want all people to come and experience what we think is really a special thing. And so the community here in New York City is terrific, and we've been a part of it for 60 years. And we just want to help people on their journey. And a lot of it, too, is we try to offer a lot of different things to people. We have free 5K open runs in parks around the city here. We have the group training things. We have kids running in school. We have virtual products. So the more that we can give people the opportunity to come into the sport, to be a part of it and continue their journey, we think that's just going to build the culture. And at New York Roadrunners, we're really fortunate to have an incredible group of talented people that are just passionate about our mission and want to just keep, adding to it and sharing in it. And so, again, I think we're really fortunate to be here and be doing this for 60 years. And all of the people that have come before us have really, built this up.
And I love that. And once again, acknowledging all your team. And you, like I said, you do have a wonderful group there. But I still think there's a part of it that is you. And do you have any advice for someone who is maybe, they could be building a running team, maybe they're building a college team, maybe they want to change the culture of these high school athletes they're working with, maybe it's a team they're creating for some kind of work project. Any advice for someone? You said about getting the right people in, so obviously that's a big part, interviewing, making sure you're bringing in people that will fit with you and what you believe in. But is there anything else you would add?
Well, one of the things I say to people when we're looking at people for applicants here, I always say we look for people that have the right skills, that really care about what we do. So one or the other is good, but if you can find the people who have the skills to be a part of your team and have the real care and the passion about what you do, that combination is a really powerful combination. And it's where, that old saying where, if you can put together good qualities in people with a real care and a passion, you're going to probably overperform in whatever aspect that is. One of the other things, and it's funny, I actually have the quote in my office. I say it's amazing in what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. So, we all want to achieve things in one way or another. So if we together can just look at the greater good and try to make sure that we're supporting that, I think that's really important. So we get a lot of people that apply for the opportunity to come and work here, and we spend a lot of time making sure we find the right skill with the people who are really passionate about what we do. And I would give that advice to people overall. Okay. You'll be able to find them. They're there. There are lots of them.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. All right, let's go in a little deeper, talk about the Run Center featuring the New Balance Run Hub. People have heard me talking about it, heard you talking about it, heard many other people talking about it. How did that come about? Were people skeptical at first when the idea came about? Tell us a bit about the beginning of the Run Center.
Yeah, we, and I give so much credit to Mary Wittenberg, our prior CEO, a good friend and running buddy as well. For years, Mary was saying, we've got to create this international running center. And we had a building up on 89th Street here in New York City that was a mini version of that, but certainly wasn't ideal. So for years, Mary kind of was on this journey. And when I joined, I kind of joined her on that journey. And along the way, we kept looking. And then finally, actually, we found this great location and everything just came together. And it was one of those things that we got great internal support. We had great support from our board. And I think our running community was kind of looking for it, but maybe they didn't know they were looking for it in the same way. And Mary and I used to hear all the time, so what are you going to do in that run center? And it's really become not only what we probably had envisioned, but even more. It's really a community hub for people. And as I said before, people love to run and love to talk about running. So it's a place where people gather and they can talk about running. They can learn about running. They can share things. As you know, New Balance has a store in there, which they can get the latest gear. We have lockers in there so people can drop their stuff and go for runs. People now also from out of, when they come and visit New York City, it's become kind of one of those must-see places, certainly for runners and tourists. We do history tours out of the Run Center. As you know, because you've been there for this, we do run talks. And the really cool thing about this is we've started to certainly put those on digital platforms so people now can experience part of the center from wherever you are in the world. And to me, that really shows how we just continue to look at evolving things along the way. And we're really cool. We just hit our 1 millionth visitor at the Run Center the past 2 weeks, and we had a little mini celebration of that on Facebook Live, which was really fun.
How did you count that?
Well, we have a counter on the door, so we kind of know what the traffic is. And I would say we were pretty approximate, maybe not perfect, but pretty close to it on that. And the amount of traffic that we get through there is terrific. And we had in there last night, our club council, the local club teams were there, and it was packed again. And it's just another great way for the people in the running community to come together. And great location, great engagement, and we're really thrilled with what it's become in 3 years. And thanks to our partnership with New Balance, it has just been through the roof fantastic.
Yeah. And what do you see for the future? Like, do you have ideas are there more ideas coming up all the time? Or, do you feel you kind of hit a capacity of what you can handle in there? Anything you or your team sees in the future? Yeah, no, there are a few things. So we've been doing a lot of free programming there, free yoga, free stretching, nutrition and things like that. We want to increase what we're doing there because we feel as though the non-running part to support the running community is really important. So education and things like that we've done some of, we want to do more in the future for sure. And then we think there are opportunities to do more where we broadcast to the community. And, we've done some book signings and some run talks, but we know that there's more to do there. And then there are a few things we're looking at for next year and beyond for the physical space that we want to make some changes in that we think we'll be able to add some enhancements as well. Cool. I think that's great. So do you ever have a day where, you're feeling absolutely exhausted, you just are having a tough time to kind of keep yourself going? There isn't enough coffee in the world. And, you just want to get home and get into bed, but you can't really complain as, so many around you would just kill to be in the position that you're in as the president and CEO of the New York Roadrunners. What do you kind of tell yourself in those moments where you're just feeling so worn out to the bones, but at the same time, so grateful that you get to be in this position? Well, I'll be brutally honest with you. I fortunately don't have that many of those at all. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, I don't drink coffee, so that doesn't work for me. I think the biggest thing when those happen for me is there are a few amazing things that keep me continue motivated. Number one is have incredible, family support, and that's always a great place for me to get kind of, if you will, that revitalization and connection to a lot of love and support from my family, which goes a long way, and a great, group of friends. Yeah. But I say this all the time. A lot of times, and this is not, I go for a run when I feel oftentimes the most kind of maybe spent. It's a different pace of a run, but it does so much for my head and it does so much for how I feel. So my go-tos are certainly family, friends, and then just a nice, a run, which might kind of help me feel a little bit better, clear my head, and give me a little bit of an extra energy. But I'm really fortunate to where I get up every day and love my job, love what I do, love the people around in the running community. And I don't mean to sound so idealistic, but it's true. It's generally the way I feel. That's so good to hear. And kind of what we all want to get out of our careers in life. And then what is it like working with, elites? Jenny and Meb in particular seem to be two who are kind of standing out for, the contributions that they're giving back to the running community, particularly around kids. So tell us about what it's like seeing these kind of superhuman athletes be so normal and just, just messing around with kids, making them feel special and making them smile. I personally saw when I did the live show with Meb afterwards, Meb stood there for probably close to an hour. And every kid, he just got so excited to, kind of have a conversation with him. But even the adults, he made every single person feel special. So what is it like for you to see these people who are just so good at what they do, being so, I don't know, real, genuine, kind of what we know deep down they are, but most people don't get to see that side of them?
Yeah, incredibly inspiring and even more motivating. They're amazing, athletes in the top of their game who we all look at and go, my gosh, it's so impressive. But when you spend time with them and how incredibly passionate they are, not only about what they do, but about supporting other people, it is inspiring, motivating, and so uplifting. And the few that you mentioned, certainly Jenny and Meb, and there are lots of others. We spend time around Shalane and Des and a lot of the other professional athletes we're so fortunate to be engaged with. Their real passion for what happens off of the running, is terrific. And their engagement with our youth programs, our Rising New York Road Runners youth programs, it's just fantastic. They go to the schools, they're at the races, and boy, we all know the inspiration can come from a lot of places, but when you see professional athletes that are out there and they're running with you, they're talking with you, they're asking you questions about your life, if you're a kid or an adult, it goes such a long way to really motivate you and help you feel good about it. And although we're never going to run like these folks, and as a runner, you always strive to be better, they help you kind of just continue to want to be a better person as well. And really incredibly blessed to be working with them and really fortunate. They're just lovely people.
Yeah. And I think, I can attest to that, but I think most people who are listening who have met them, they are exactly what you see them to be in that short second that you get to see them. All right. So speaking of kids, you have Team for Kids, you have Rising New York Road Runners. You've recently expanded your free programs in schools and neighborhood parks, and you serve 250,000 youth nationally, which probably is higher since I found that. But tell us about, that you have this new initiative, I guess it would be, about each pair of shoes purchased in the New York Road Runners Run Hub. New Balance is going to donate a pair, with New York Road Runners, to a child in need. Tell us about where that idea came along, why you felt like that was important, and just why working with kids in general is important to you.
Yeah, so our One for You, One for Youth program is really terrific. We've given out, I think, close to 15,000 pairs of shoes over the last few years as part of our partnership with New Balance. And it was so interesting how it came about. And I give my wife a lot of credit for this. When we were about to partner with New Balance, she and I were out celebrating our anniversary, and I was talking about how excited I was about the partnership. And I said, well, we want to keep doing more. And she said, well, why don't you give away a pair of shoes for every pair that you sell at the Run Center? And I was like, that's great. So I called up the folks at New Balance and put that idea to them. And they were so great about supporting the community and giving back. So that program has been strong for the last few years. And we're looking to increase that and give away more shoes to kids here in New York City. Because we often say, running is a fairly easy sport to get into. You need a pair of sneakers, you can get out there and run. So if we can help support people getting into the sport, that's something we want to continue to do with that great partnership with New Balance. Mm-hmm. But overall, our commitment to youth and community has been there for many years as part of New York Road Runners' mission. Our youth programs are celebrating our 20 years of free youth running programs in schools. All of our youth programs are free, whether it's a school program or a race. We're in over 800 schools here in the city, but almost that many schools around the country as well. It's a great program, and it really teaches kids the importance of running and health and fitness, and just a fun program. Gets kids moving. We have lots of different games that they can play that gets them moving as part of the Rising New York Road Runners curriculum. And it's really a great way to kind of, we think, create the next generation of runners and support the community. And as part of that, too, we also look how we can support adults running. So we have a number of free 5K run walks here in the city. We have a seniors program where we get seniors out walking in community centers and in parks around the city. And it's all part of our mission to help and inspire people to running. And we're really passionate about making sure that people feel welcome and have the opportunity to gather with other people and run. So we will wake up in the morning thinking about how we can continue to do that, and really are inspired by it as well.
And how does, just to ask a very basic level question, how does helping kids get started in running, how does that help our running future? What are some of the benefits you see to these kids?
Well, besides obviously the benefit they get from just the movement and the health aspect of it, and running is a part of most sports. Listen, a lot of kids are not maybe going to get introduced to the sport of running. They may not have a track program. They may not even have an opportunity to run races. So we feel like by giving them the opportunity to be introduced through Rising New York Road Runners, they may decide that they want to come out and run a short race, or they may decide that they want to explore more about running as they grow up. And we want them to be open to it the same way they're open to any other sport. And we think by giving them these free programs in the school, it at least opens them up to the opportunity and makes them aware of it. And we've seen runners, now that we've been doing this for 20 years here, we've seen people who started in our Rising New York Road Runners programs who are now out running our races. And we've even had a few that have come and run the marathon. And not that that's the end goal for this, but we've gotten them into the sport of running, and some of them are just now lifelong runners.
Friends, you have heard me talking about the New York Road Runners many a time, and including in this special episode, you are hearing us kind of focus on what they're all about, what it means to be a part of New York Road Runners, and just how much they help those beyond those living in New York. Now, I'm excited to share something very exclusive with you. New York Road Runners is testing a new training program that offers virtual community-driven coaching that brings together runners to train as a group for the same or similar races with the help of two experienced coaches. The New York Road Runners Coaching Lab is in beta, so you have this unique opportunity to shape the future of the program for other runners with your feedback. The Coaching Lab is currently offering training teams for both half and full marathons. You will get a customized team training plan, coaches and teammates to answer your questions and share advice. But remember this, friends, spots are limited. Sign up today at NYRRcoachinglab.org and use code TINA10 for $10 off any program. That's NYRRcoachinglab.org. Use code TINA10 for $10 off any program. Now, in this episode, you are hearing just how giving Michael is about how the culture, the community that they have already created is just something very special. This is a very limited program. So if you are looking for coaching, if you are looking for other people to be around who are training for the same race as you, this is something really special. And you will get the opportunity to be a part of something that could create, many, many programs in the future. So you get to shape it to how you want. So take advantage of this, my friends. This is really special. Go to nyrrcoachinglab.org. Use code TINA10 for $10 off any program.
So we feel like by giving them the opportunity to be introduced through Rising New York Road Runners, they may decide that they want to come out and run a short race, or they may decide that they want to explore more about running as they grow up. And we want them to be open to it the same way they're open to any other sport. And we think by giving them these free programs in the school, it at least opens them up to the opportunity and makes them aware of it. And we've seen runners, now that we've been doing this for 20 years here, we've seen people who started in our Rising New York Road Runners programs who are now out running our races. And we've even had a few that have come and run the marathon. And not that that's the end goal for this, but we've gotten them into the sport of running, and some of them are just now lifelong runners. And we think that that's really
cool. Yeah, I love that. And I can personally attest that when I was a guide for a visually impaired little girl who was running the mile, sorry, I've completely forgotten the name of the mile now, but that was in September. What is the name of that race?
Yeah, the New Balance Fifth Avenue Mile.
That's it. Yeah. When I was doing that, I finished with her, and she was really excited. And you were standing there high-fiving everyone, and the smile on your face was just like a picture. Like, you just looked like you were having the best time and just celebrating each of their accomplishments as your own. And it was just really cool to see. So I want to just give you a shout out for that, because that was a really special moment for me to do that with her, but then also to see your joy coming from what these kids were doing, just being out there and being active. So yeah, just wanted to say that.
It's interesting. A lot of times I say it's another day at the office. Being able to stand at the finish line and welcome people is pretty cool. Learned a lot of that from Mary Wittenberg and Peter Chacha, who did it for years here. And just being there for runners and supporting them, I think is a lot of what we want to be able to do.
It's very cool. Thank you. And actually, I just want to quickly say, as I know many of you have been asking me about this, you've seen that I have been a guide a lot lately and have been asking, how do you get involved with that? When I ran at California International Marathon, that was through United in Stride. You can go find a visually impaired runner to train or run with at the United in Stride website. You can also go back to listen to the episode with Rich Hunter. That will give you more on that. And in New York and actually across the US, across the world, there is Achilles International. I did have Michael Anderson on the show a few months ago, so you can go back and find that one along with Alan Kaufman and Mauricio Blandino. I talk about Achilles International. Absolutely recommend doing that. So just wanted to add that in there. Michael, what about Team for Kids? People will often see these jerseys that people wear, race singlets that say Team for Kids. Explain what that part of what you do is.
Yeah, amazing group of adults that run to raise money for our free youth programs. And it certainly gives people an opportunity to get an entry into some of our premier races. And it's become a really great community of runners. We had, I think, 1,300 or 1,400 finishers in this year's TCS New York City Marathon. Actually, the number may be higher than that. But and we raise money for our youth programs. I've run with Team for Kids for the TCS New York City Marathon the last 10 years and raised money as well. But it's a great way, again, to give back to the community. And the program just continues to grow. And we really love seeing those green shirts out there with Team for Kids and people that are giving back to the community. And it's cool, too, because it's a training group in and of itself. We provide training and tools and coaching for folks, certainly here in New York City and around the country and around the world that run with Team for Kids. So we're so thrilled. It really became a great way to get people into running and to get them to give back to the community as well.
So cool. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to completely switch directions here now. I have a few questions from my listeners, from my Patreon subscribers. So Phyllis wants to know, and she did run the TCS New York City Marathon this year. So she was out there as part of that massive group of people who did it this year. She said, given the current situation in women's running, do you and New York Road Runners have any plans to fund research or possibly offer education to coaches both at the high school and college level?
So this certainly is a very timely subject. And first, I'd like to say there are a number of things that we already do here in New York City to support this. We have a Run for the Future program where we actually have a group of young women each year that run with us, and we teach them a lot about the healthy aspects of life and healthy aspects of running. Mm-hmm. Actually, our Rising New York Road Runners program, which is based on physical literacy and healthy aspects of sport and training, are really aspects that we really do a lot to support now. All of our coaching and training is certainly based on healthy aspects of it, on making sure that you're getting information about your nutrition and things like that. So there are a lot of fundamental things that we already do to support healthy running amongst all people, and certainly as the topic of young women runners is very topical right now. There are certainly some things we're looking at because we feel like we can further support education, information, research in this area. So we're going to take what we're already doing, and we're going to build on that so we can support the community overall. I think it really aligns with our mission to help and inspire people through running, and we want to make sure that we're there to support the community and build on what we're already doing. I think coaching has a lot to do with it too, and we have a great group of coaches here at New York Road Runners, but we're always looking to expand and bring more people into coaching that can really help support young athletes and certainly women specifically.
Yeah, and that's good to hear that you already have some things implemented, and it's definitely in your future because as I think we can all kind of come to the conclusion now, this is not going away. It's going to keep rising up and keep kind of fine tuning things until we kind of do get to a place where things are how they should be with women, or maybe close to that, and particularly at the youth level. So thank you for that. All right.
Yeah.
One more question from Ken Johnson, who wants to know, in my experience with community organizations, it's often hard to find volunteers. From what I can tell, that's not at all a problem for your group. It is quite impressive. So he wants to know, what is your secret?
Yeah, we're incredibly fortunate. I think that we've built kind of helped to build a culture and community of volunteerism that exists really strongly in the city of New York. And a lot of times people want to support things that will inspire them and inspire other people. So when you talk about people running races and trying to accomplish their goals, we're often kind of so impressed by how many people want to come out and do that. Certainly for the TCS New York City Marathon, we have well over 10,000 people that come out and line the streets to support people. And it's a culture of volunteerism that exists, I think, certainly in a lot of communities, and it really is very strong here. And we've been very fortunate to be able to build on that and support that. And we all know how much it means to us to be cheered on and supported by people, and volunteers make up a big part of it. So just continue to work at building the community. It's there. People want to help and support other people. And I think it's critical that we as organizers continue to give people the opportunity to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. So just to wrap up here, the TCS New York City Marathon, this is the 50th anniversary in 2020. Tell us about, what you have planned for that and why this one in particular. I know you can't say everything, but why this one is going to be a real special one.
Well, I think when it comes to any anniversary, you really feel like it's a great time to kind of reflect and look back on the history of how you got here and what really has happened and celebrate the past. But I think it's also an opportunity to look forward and see what's to come in the future. And if you think about it, really, the New York City Marathon was probably, the first urban marathon, or one of the first, and it really, I think, propelled a lot more to come after that. So we want to celebrate kind of the roots of what happened way back when we ran the first marathon of all the loops in Central Park, and it was 26 miles in Central Park in 1970, to when we went out on the 5 boroughs in 1976, and everything that's happened along the way, and the over 1 million people that have finished this incredible race. And we're going to celebrate it. We're going to celebrate it by looking back, and we're going to celebrate it by looking forward. And we've got some things we're planning now, which we will announce certainly in the new year. The application opens for the 50th anniversary on January 30th. So if you're interested, there's an opportunity to apply then. We're expecting big demand, and we're really excited that we're going to do some really special things heading into the 50th. And it's going to be a big celebration. So I encourage all people to kind of go ahead and sign up, and there's plenty of opportunity to run with charity. Actually, our Team for Kids is open now. So if you want to go ahead and get a guaranteed entry for the 50th, you can apply. You can go ahead and sign up with Team for Kids now and be part of it. And, we're really thrilled with it. And Jim Heim, our race director, who had his first year this year at the TCS Marathon as a race director, he and I are spending a lot of time chatting about what we can do to really make it extra exciting for next year.
Great. And I know you have to go, but just one quick thing is I know people will be killing me to ask you this. If someone can't get in, as it is going to be in high demand even more than usual, what would you suggest for someone to do as a kind of backup or instead?
So certainly, as I said, enter the drawing. And if you don't get selected in the drawing, we have hundreds of charities that are doing amazing work in the communities all around the country. And find one. Obviously, Team for Kids is my choice, so you can run and sign up for Team for Kids, but there are hundreds of charities out there to support as well. So there's an opportunity to do it and make that the special time which you go ahead and run with the charity and give back to the community to add to your miles.
Okay. All right, Michael, I know you have to go. So I will, in the outro, I will tell everyone where they can find you, where they can find the TCS New York City Marathon. But thank you so much for your wisdom, for just all that you do in this community. It really is inspiring for me and so many others to see what you've been able to build and grow. And thank you for all you've done for our community.
Tina, thank you for all that you do for the running community as well. It means a lot to have your voice and to have your support. And thanks for the opportunity to be a part of your podcast today.
My friends, if you have a minute and you could leave a review on your favorite podcast player, Apple Podcasts, aka iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Spotify, or whatever else podcast player you use to listen to this podcast, or if you would subscribe to this podcast, you will help me get out in front of new runners to make our tribe even bigger and even better. It might not seem like you as one person can make a difference, but really it helps a lot. And it shows me you appreciate the hard work I put in for those. Thank you so much. I am not sure how he has all that energy or that passion to keep going as hard as he does with the way of passion that he does. But for sure, we need someone like that in a job like that. He has one of the most important positions in the running world, and I just loved getting to know him there because what a special person, what a special community. I just want to give another quick thanks to Athletic Greens, Vital Farms, and for the New York Road Runners for sponsoring me and this episode. You can get yourself a $79 travel pack for free at Athletic Greens. You going to athleticgreens.com/Tina. You will get a $79 travel pack for free when you sign up for your first month. You can enter to be a winner of a year's supply of ghee from Vital Farms by going to vitalfarms.com/ghee. And also the New York Road Runners mentioned that they are just doing a beta program of a coaching lab, and you get the opportunity to take up one of the limited spots in this beta program, a very exciting opportunity. You can get $10 off by going to nyrrcoachinglab.org and using code TINA10 to get $10 off and become one of those exclusive runners who gets first access to this program. How exciting. Now, there are links to all of those things at tinamuir.com/episode 166. Next week, we have, I think, probably my biggest score, if you want to call that, of my podcasting career. This was the guest I was more excited than anyone to interview. I have been trying to get him for years. He's one of my favorite people to look up to in the world. Michael Gervais is going to be on the Running for Real podcast next week, and I cannot wait to share it with you. You're going to see exactly why I love him so much, and I cannot wait for you to listen in. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you could leave a rating and review if you are enjoying these episodes, that would mean so much to me. Thank you so much. Happy 2020 and have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Running for Real podcast. Be sure to check out tinamuir.com for show notes and even more helpful running information.